Hello, everybody, and welcome back to a new episode of Me as Well. I am your host, Lamia, but also known as Mia. Today, we have a new guest. My guest, I had the pleasure to meet him at Molai. A lot of you, if you've listened to my previous episode, I've been talking a lot about Molai community, and the great things about this community is you get to make wonderful connection. One of them connection is David Singleton with me today.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm amazing. Good to see you, and what a joy it is to be here.
Thank you so much for
Thank you.
your time and for coming on the podcast.
It's
It means
a
a
pleasure.
lot.
Thank you.
And for those who don't know, you are a transformational growth
It's a mouthful,
coach.
isn't it? Yes.
Yeah, it is indeed. But yeah, I said it right.
Mm.
And honestly, I love talking to you. And that's the reason why I wanted you to be here with me today, because you've really helped me to have a great perspective about life in general, about how we perceive life and how to really dig deeper into our purpose, into what we really want. But before we go into that, I have a big tradition is to first start with the early years. So tell us a bit more about your early years and what brought you to Dubai.
I came here 18 years ago,
Okay.
and for a birthday.
Okay.
And I look back. I stayed at the Royal Mirage One and Only,
Mm-hmm.
and I look back on what was reported to be the third of the world's population of cranes building JBR.
Okay.
I think it was Mall of the Emirates had just opened, or Dubai Mall had just opened. And I thought, this is cool. I said, something is happening here. Dubai was billing itself as the capital of the world.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, you know what? One day I'm going to come and work here.
Okay.
Because I think, this is for me. I had a lot going on. I was in England at the time. I had a lot going on. My children were young, and it probably wasn't the right time to come. I would have come.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't the right time.
What were you doing at that time?
I was running restaurants right across England. I was creating restaurants and running them. At that time, I was building a group of quite high-end country pubs.
Okay.
And
nice.
these were pubs that were the cream of the cream, and they were all about people and great food, furniture you'd have in your home. And we opened 83 in 8 years. It was relentless. It really was. But in those days, I was able to do everything that I had set out to do in my career about building future teams, building future companies. We were hiring people that were going to be future directors and future marketeers as waiters and things like that. So that was a really, really fulfilling time. And I spent a long time in that company.
Okay.
I spent a lot of time in America as well at that time, and in all sorts of restaurant brands. So I'm a restaurant guy at heart.
I can tell. I've seen your story, and I literally, whenever I see you at the restaurant, I'm like, oh my God, I need to visit that place. That looks absolutely phenomenal. Yeah. So yeah, I can tell that you're a big foodie, just like me.
Yes.
All right. And then, so when exactly did you move? 10 years ago?
So I moved 10 years ago. I had my anniversary last month in May. The 13th was when I was here for 10 years.
Okay.
And it goes by so quickly here.
I know, right? You don't see the time going by.
You don't. But I've done so much while I've been here.
Yeah, I can imagine 10 years is a lot.
10 years. And I've traveled the world from here with the work that I've been doing. We really are in the center of the world here.
That's true. And what made you finally take the step from before?
Oh, so from the corporate world into the world of entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to do it when I came. Let me go back a little bit.
Yeah.
When I came here, I joined a family business, Altair. I joined the retail board there, and I was vice president of the hospitality business.
Okay.
And that enabled me also to work across in the other businesses and get an insight to the world of the beauty business, the world of fashion, luxury fashion, contemporary fashion, department stores, Harvey Nichols, Bloomingdale's, Macy's in the United States. And that gave me, that broadened my career beyond hospitality.
Yeah.
And I figured, you know what? The restaurant business, the hospitality business has got so much to offer commerce generally.
Exactly.
And I was up to my 4th year there, and a lot of people knew me. They knew my network. They knew how accessible I was and how connected I was.
Mhm.
And the phone calls were starting to come, and I was being tempted in my mind. And this was one of the best jobs I ever had. And then the phone rang,
Mhm.
and it was a headhunter who said to me, David, he said, I know I've talked to you before about jobs, but you are not going to turn this one down.
Okay.
And that was Hard Rock.
And it was a straight yes?
Well, no, it was yes, get me to America to go and meet them. But
Mhm.
Hard Rock was a brand that, since I was a child, I always wanted to work with them. And I was thinking, oh my goodness,
Imagine.
this is one of the top jobs in the industry.
Yeah.
One of the biggest brands on the planet.
I agree.
And this was one of the biggest jobs. So I went through that process, and I thought, you know what, I'll do this for a couple of years. And then I called a mentor of mine, 2 mentors of mine. One is a guy called Chris Edger. He was my HR director at one stage, and now he's professor of multi-unit leadership in the UK. And I've written in some of his books, and he's been a great advisor and mentor to me. And I said, Chris, they need a reference. Do you mind? And he said, David, he says, stop what you're doing. Go and get your accreditation and coach. You're a coach leader. You've been a coach leader all your life. So combine your skills and your international knowledge and work with people under your own steam. I said, I will. Let me get this job done.
Okay.
And then I will do that.
Okay.
So it took me into places like Africa. It took me into Asia. These are territories I hadn't worked in before. And that kind of rounded my edges, if you like.
Mhm.
My black book was now deeper. I had the credibility of this global brand on my CV, and I knew it would open up more doors. So, and I wanted to do it. It was a bit of a calling, really, and it didn't come at a good time. 6 months later, COVID arrived. I'd given up
Oh.
the biggest job that I had ever had.
Okay.
And I was 2 years where all of us here in the Middle East and around the world had to lock, we had to lock horns with each other. We had to, metaphorically, of course, but we had to really become tighter as a virtual community.
Mhm.
And that gave me the chance to really discover what I wanted to do then, and which was going from being the restaurant man to being somebody fairly industry agnostic, which is what I do now.
And I must say, um, it's beautiful to see the journey, but I think that lockdown have impacted so many of us because we were forced to be locked up, but we were also brought to be by ourselves.
Yeah,
And as much as it was uncomfortable, a lot of people discovered a lot about themselves and what they truly want.
definitely.
So would you say this is exactly when you started, you were like, okay, this is my time to focus on what I really wanted?
Yeah, it was a challenging time for me. I'm not going to lie.
Mm-hmm.
It was a really challenging time. I was on my own. I had given up an amazing job. I had started to build my client base, and then in a day, gone.
Yeah.
I had one client, and I had no idea how long that was going to last for. So it was tough. But I forced myself from 8 in the morning to 10 at night. I kept busy. I networked virtually,
Mm-hmm.
and I knew then I could open any door on the planet with an email or a phone call, because no one was moving, were they? And everybody was helping everybody. And if they didn't want to help you, they weren't worth talking to, frankly.
True.
So I did a lot of what we're doing now, a lot of podcasts, a lot of webinars. There's a small group of us formed a group to support the restaurant industry at government level.
Yeah.
And it got very, very busy. And I was determined to come out much more stronger and much more learned out of it, which I did.
That's beautiful. And I like that because I think at the same time, lockdown did open that door whereby, yes, we were locked down, but then that now, for example, we have AI,
Mm,
which is quite famous nowadays. But I think it is a follow up of what happened during lockdown because technology was what we were all relying on,
mm,
whether that was for work, whether it was to connect with our own family.
mm.
That was the only solution we had
Yeah.
because we didn't have that human connection. But despite that, do you think that you were still missing that human, that people to people connection?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Um, I'm a bit of an introvert extrovert, believe it or not.
Okay.
So I value my own space,
Okay.
but also I miss the creature comfort of people.
Yeah.
And it did work. Mentally, it did impact me, and it's something, believe it or not, I've never talked about it. But it did impact me in ways that I now invest into my own work.
Okay.
These periods of crisis, these periods of emotional movement, these periods of psychological change, mental health, if you can recognize them and lean into them and understand the why and where do these things originate from, and you dig into it a little bit, you discover an awful lot. I
Yeah.
wrote a lot. I come from a family of writers, so I then had the time to actually be introspective and write.
Yeah.
So I was able to do that. So I discovered a lot, and a lot of it wasn't easy.
Oh, I agree.
When you do go into your subconscious, you go in
Pretty deep.
Oh yeah, and get ready for it, for what you might discover. But it actually, the more I saw, the more I wanted to discover. And again, this enables me now with my work to ask the right questions.
Okay.
To be curious. It was the time I did my coaching
Yeah.
accreditation. I was able to do it virtually. And also by chance. There's something about serendipity, isn't there? Things that happen by chance. And it's a chapter in the book that I'm writing. It's called Planned Serendipity. Nothing happens by chance, really. You and I are sat here together for a reason.
I agree.
All right. We met at a place where I met lots of people. And it's a very comfortable place for all of us.
Yeah.
But another mentor of mine called me and he said, David, there's a company in Luxembourg are looking for some help, and it's a coaching organization. And they want to globalize their business. I get asked that a lot, David, how do we globalize this business? Okay. So we got on and we were having some calls and all the rest of it, and then COVID. And they were, oh my God, this is terrible. I said, absolutely not at all. Let's think about this. We've now got the window to the world. I agree. We can talk to 1,000 people at one go now. 100%. This is opportunity for us. And so we just changed our perspective, and I use the term be conventional unconventionally.
What do you mean by that?
Well, how do we do things? These are your rules, not mine.
Okay. I get you. I like that.
And this is your convention. This is my convention. I'm going to do things a little bit differently.
Okay.
So why do I have to do what everybody else is doing? Why do I have to be a leadership coach? Why can't I be a transformational growth coach? What does that mean?
Exactly.
And why does David Singleton have to be what everybody else wants him to be? I'm going to be what I want to be. And if it works for you, cool, get on the bus and let's go and drink some of that Cooley. And I think that's what makes me a little bit different to the rest. I'm not going to turn up in a sharp suit.
And honestly, this is something that I adore with you, because you're authentic.
Yeah.
And you are you, and you're not going to change to fit in, you know? And this is something very, very powerful nowadays, because, I feel like I was a victim of that myself, whereby, you have to meet society's requirement, whereby, if I give you an example, my dad is pretty old school. So for him, I should have been married with 3 kids already. And the fact that I am not, it was for them, the people in Madagascar and the community where I live, where I'm from, it's like, oh my God, she's too old. She will never get married.
Yeah.
But I was like, I don't care what you think. I'm not ready for that.
But you do care.
I do care.
You do care. And that's fine to care. I care about your feelings.
Exactly.
But I'm not ready to be married.
Exactly.
Just yet.
Exactly.
The time will come when I'm ready to be married and have children. I'm going to do it on my own steam.
Exactly.
I worked in Russia for 3 years. All right, and there was that expectation of the younger generation to be married.
They have the same thing. Exactly.
Very much. Yeah. And so when I went there, and that was an eye-opener in every respect, but if I come back to that earlier, the point I was kind of making about being my own man. I'd worked for a long time in the UK
Mm-hmm.
for a very steady group of people. They were my mentors. They were my inspirational leaders in many respects. They gave me more freedom than most other leaders in our organization, and I thrived. I thought,
Mm-hmm.
and it wasn't till I'd left, and I was able to be on my own and have this reflection time. All of a sudden, I'm now sat in this cafe in central Moscow on a Saturday morning. My phone's not ringing. My email isn't going. I haven't got people calling me saying, David, what do I do with this problem? I now had this super senior role, and my teams were doing the work.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, cool, this is all right, isn't it? And I realized then I'd been in this place of subliminal command and control.
Yeah.
I was doing what everybody else expected and wanted me to do. And I was always frustrated. I was always this entrepreneur within this big corporate organization.
Yes.
And I broke more rules and got into more trouble than you can imagine. How I was never fired is beyond me. But I was conventionally unconventional.
Okay.
And I said to myself then, no one's ever going to control me in relationship and at work. And it's not going to be that way. I am going to be my authentic, vulnerable self, which are great strengths of leaders.
Yes, I agree.
And it's not easy to be a vulnerable leader.
Exactly.
It's not easy always to show empathy and to be an empathetic leader.
I agree.
But it's important to be. It's important to be strong and not weak. And there's a difference there.
Mm-hmm.
To show empathy isn't to be weak. To be vulnerable isn't to be weak. Actually, it's really strong.
I completely agree with you. 100%.
So over the last 10 years of being here, I've worked with extraordinary people again, but in a different way. The Arab way here is one of kindness, of trust, for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
When I came here, I worked with the Altai family.
Okay.
And I remember I was designing a restaurant, and I was trying to get to kind of grips with, the local ware, the kanduras and what have you. And I was creating this restaurant, and I wanted to put some high stools in. And I thought, I wonder how it's going to be. And I wanted to be true to the natives,
Yes.
if you will. And I said to my boss, Khaled, and I said, how do you feel about this? And he said, why are you asking me? He said, you're the expert. You tell me what I need to do, and I'll do it. And I'd never had that before.
And they believe in you and they trust that you would do the right thing. Yeah.
Whereas before in a previous world, it would, well, we need to, let's run 3 options on this.
Exactly.
Let's have some meetings. Let's get Lamia in and see what she thinks. Let's get Peter in and see. Oh my God. Now, I wasn't suddenly, but I had been given this job here, running all of these restaurant brands, global brands around the Middle East, to run and have a responsibility and ownership for. Wow.
And you just and it's beautiful because you have the freedom to execute at your best.
Yes.
Because you're not being controlled by somebody else. But one thing that I'm really interested to know is, how did the cultural impact, let's say, transpire through your work and through everything? Because as you mentioned, you've been traveling the world, you've been you've been working with different cultures and people from different nationalities. And I believe this must have added a lot of value also to what you do.
Oh, definitely. One of the things I learned, and I was always accused of back in England of, David, you're not a very good listener. You don't listen. And
I don't agree on that.
Well, it's interesting. And always in my mind, I was thinking, are you hearing yourself? But I never had the courage to say that back.
Okay.
And it wasn't until one of my bosses rang me and he said, I haven't heard from you from a long time. I said, well, you've got my number. Why should it be me? Anyway, and we reflected on those times. And I actually said then, You never listened. You always accused me of being a poor listener, but actually you weren't. Everything had to be your way.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so as I worked around the world, all my career I've never worked hard.
Okay.
You know,
Okay.
yes, I have. I'm not digging up roads. I'm not doing anything that's manual. I'm not stressing myself. I'm not breathing in coal fumes and dust and everything. I'm talking to people. I'm inspiring people. I'm leading people. I'm building great brands. I'm building incredible teams. And in order for me to do what I want to do, I've always got to be surrounded by people who are going to do my work.
Okay.
So these are people who I'm developing for the future.
Yeah.
So I'm blessed that I've always and only ever worked in brands that are in growth mode. So I could always hire future leaders. These were people that were excited and wanted to learn and wanted to develop. And so most of my work was done for me for the most part. I wasn't very good in finance, for example. So one of my managers was always going to be a future finance director.
Mm-hmm.
I loved marketing. So how could I get someone that was a super creative, cool cat to work with me, to teach me, perhaps? I didn't want to bust my ass running around restaurants all the time. So I got doers on the floor, who are going to run around and work hard. And I think if you spoke to anyone who has ever worked in any of my teams over the years, they'll say this, and I've said it to them. And when we reflect now, I'm still in touch with people over the last 30 years that started with me as waiters and now running their own companies or managing directors or who are business owners, and they will all say the same thing. But what we did do, we built superpowered teams. But coming to your question, what I was able to do when I studied and practiced this crazy career that I have now as a coach is the power of the curious question.
Okay.
When you look into someone's eyes and you catch what they're saying and you listen to what they're saying, and it could be you tell me about that.
Yes.
And tell me more. You mentioned earlier about why.
Mm-hmm.
What did you mean by that? Or do you really mean that? And for some cultures where you've got the senior guy arriving on the scene and he's only going to tell you what he thinks I want to hear. And so you've got to look in their eyes and you've got to look behind their eyes and look to see what they're really telling you. And you have to know the questions to ask, to show empathetic leadership. Not be the president. Be the human. And very often in my last role, we would go on these tours, and it was an incredible brand that I worked with, but there was a lot of ego there, and that's the brand. All right. But egotistical. We've all got egos, by the way.
That's.
And anyone who says they don't have an ego is, we got serious conversations to have. But it's how you manage your ego.
Yeah.
How do you balance it with your core strength?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. My biggest saboteur characteristic is one of a hyperachiever. The characteristic of that is one of ego. How do I manage that? So I studied, and what are my core character strengths? They're of curiosity, of kindness, of and blah and blah and blah and blah. So I balance the two.
Yeah.
As soon as you become aware, it really does become your strength. So I can't remember I can't remember the question to this. I'm going down some rabbit holes.
It's fine. I just, I like the flow because I'm like, that's one thing I could stand for hours with you, and I keep learning and on, and it's just so beautiful. My question actually was how the culture impacted you in that journey of coaching. Yes.
I love it. I think here in the Arab world where we are, outside the Arab world, people don't understand it so much.
Okay.
When you're immersed in it, look at where we are. We can do anything here in Dubai and the UAE and the Middle East if we have the bravery to make a point of difference.
Yeah.
We really can. It's a world of entrepreneur. We're in a generation of entrepreneurship
I
here.
agree on that.
There are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, of new trade licenses being issued every month. So I embraced it, and the culture suits me here. And as I traveled around the world,
Mm-hmm.
and you go to Africa, it's one place. You go to Russia, it's another way. You go to the Nordic region, you go to Asia, and you listen a lot. We're gifted with 2 ears and a mouth in that proportion for good reason.
Exactly.
And whilst there may have been times as I grew up in my career, I might not have used them in that order.
Okay.
It makes life a lot easier for you if you do.
No, I agree.
And you ask the right question. I know if I've got half an hour with someone, I'm probably only ever going to ask 3 or 4 power questions.
But that would be enough to
Yeah.
get straight to the point, right?
Yeah.
But all right. So you then became a coach, transformational coach. And tell me about Oraculi.
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 Oraculi. There's a bit of a story to that, and it's a story of finding purpose.
That's where I want to explain to me what led you into that. What was
Yeah.
the purpose of?
I was invited to the UK to Old Trafford, which is the home of Man United in one side of the city. It's also the home of Lancashire Cricket Club,
Okay.
which is one of the top cricket clubs in the world. And the CEO there is a guy called Daniel Gidney. Daniel Gidney and I came across each other about 20 years ago when I was chairman of Coventry City Ladies Football Club.
Mm-hmm.
And I was chairman of this club for 10 years, and my daughter Katie played for them when she was a child, when she was 8.
Okay.
I'm not an athlete. I'm certainly not a footballer, but I was asked to take on this club, which was at the time the country's largest ladies football club. And there's a whole podcast to be had out of this whole thing. But the long story short, for this was the club wanted to play at the highest level.
Okay.
But we had 7 or 8 leagues to go.
Okay.
So we had 2 words: think Premiership. You want to be a Premiership footballer, you better sleep like one, act like one, breathe like one, play like one.
Okay.
You want to be a Premier League coach, do the same. My job is to make sure you've got everything you need to enable that: tools, knowledge, time, energy, space. And we did. We became Premier League champions. We found our purpose. Our purpose was, Coventry City was a place where the girls of Coventry could realise their footballing dreams, whatever their levels of actualisation might have been, either play for the country or just play football. All right, so remember the levels of actualisation, remember purpose, remember the 2 words.
Mm-hmm.
So Daniel was a big supporter of ours. And in those days, ladies football was dealt with a lot of discrimination. It wasn't, we believed that one day we would fill stadiums. We were very clear about that. And look at where ladies football is now globally.
Exactly.
That's what we believed. That's what we saw. We had a future vision
Mm-hmm.
that we would fill football stadiums. So Daniel remembered this, and he invited me over to spend some time with his cricketers.
Okay.
And the ladies team, all right? And when I sat there and looked around the table, I talked about purpose. What's your purpose? We want to win trophies, don't we? Of course, obvious. We want to be the best, blah. Anyway, that inspired me. We had a lot of time together, and I spent time with other teams within the stadium as well. And on the way back, I was thinking to myself, what's my purpose?
Okay.
What do I stand for? What's my future vision? And future vision is to leave a legacy. We all want to leave a legacy, but I was entrusted when I came here. And I'm not going to leave here until I know I can say, I did this, I did that. And again, not in an egotistical way, but this is a place where we can and should give back.
I agree.
So anyway, so I did my own little brainstorming. I got my marketing hat on, and I thought, what is it I do? Yeah, I coach, I advise, I mentor, I help, I do all these things. I thought, right, who's helped me, who have been my mentors, and I wrote those down, who've inspired me. And my father, of course, was a big influencer in my life, and he was one of my mentors. And he was an English teacher, he was a Latin master, he was a great storyteller, great writer.
Okay.
And on our road trips, we go on a lot of road trips when I was a kid, and he used to talk to me about, for some reason, and about the roots of the English language. Latin, he was a Latin teacher, and how the English language had deteriorated over time.
Okay, interesting.
You know,
Yeah.
how words have been formed. So I learned all
Yeah.
this, and I remember stuff like this. And I thought, interesting, what is to mentor in Latin, which is Oraculi?
Oraculi.
So, and Oraculi, it was instant.
And
Yeah, and it was instant. Oraculi, I loved it. And all of these things in what I've just shared with you there, creating a future vision. That's why it's one of the core pieces of work that I do with a leader or a team or a company. Where do we want to go? How do we want to feel when we're there? What does it look like? Who's around you? Write it down. Write it down in the present tense. Go there. I am doing, I did. Otherwise, it's just a wish list.
Right.
And then when you're able to write that down, you then go back. And what's holding me back? And these are your limiting beliefs. These are thoughts and feelings. That's all they are. And my job now is to kind of help you identify those and transform them into empowering beliefs.
That's beautiful.
And this is what we did with a football club. This is what we did with a cricket team. This is what I do with every team. So we then capture your empowering beliefs. And then how? Then we work out how. Then the hard work starts. You know? And that could be confidence. It could be having trust. It could be having belief. It's not understanding our skill sets or whatever they are. But I do believe if you can write it down, you can do it.
I agree. I feel personally, I see that journaling helped me a lot.
Yeah.
I am a big overthinker and I'm very anxious in general. So when I am actually writing my thoughts down, even though it may not make any sense, but just putting it on paper it just makes more sense, and it gets my mind and my way of thinking be more aligned. I understand what's the issue. I can relate. For example, I used to, just before I started hypnotherapy, I saw myself being stuck into a vicious circle all the time. And then I kept asking myself, maybe it's not the other person. Maybe the issue is myself. Because if 3 times or 4 times I'm getting the same and the same thing coming back and the same thing coming back, there's a reason for it, you know? So I remember clearly, and if you ask me to show you that page on my journal, there was a big mind map, the people around, and then I kind of made the little notes. How is that affecting me? How is that affecting me? Which then led me to the actual reason, and then work on that thing. But do you believe in manifestation?
Of course. Yeah, very much. Yes. Those people haven't seen me for a very long time. Say, God, David, you have changed. But what they're seeing is the person that I always wanted to be. And again, come back to write things down. Plan serendipity. Plan serendipity is about manifestation, and it could be, I think I'm going to see Mia in the gym today, or, and again, we met for a reason.
Exactly.
All right. So, did I manifest that? No. Manifestation is about, desire, intent, belief, having a vision.
Quick question about that. A lot of people think that manifestation is just writing or making a vision board. Do you think that is enough to reach your goal? Or there's more to it?
It's different for everybody, isn't it? For some, it's writing a gratitude journal or a journal. That works for some people. Some like to put it pictorially into a board. Some people, there are many different things and ways of this. What works for you? We're all different. It's interesting, there's somebody I worked with a while ago, and this person had never journaled.
Okay.
And we were working at all kinds of parts of this person's life. And they started to journal. And then one night, picked up their children's colouring pencils and drew a chrysalis.
Okay.
The chrysalis, it was just a round thing. And within there's a butterfly.
Yes.
And a butterfly's life, the bulk of their life is spent in that chrysalis, building up the strength, building up the courage to break free from whatever it is. So there's a picture of a chrysalis, and then there's a picture of a butterfly just sat there. And when you go through this period of introspection and you go through this, it could be hypnotherapy, it could be through psilocybin, it could be through manifestation, it could be through inner work, it could be all sorts of things. And then you sit and you take pause and you pause. And it's another chapter that I'm writing, The Power of the Pause.
Mm-hmm.
How often do we stop, even if it's that, a few seconds? What am I going to say next? What am I thinking? Let's get it right. Or it could be a month. I'm going to go to Bali and just do nothing and take stock of my life. Mm. So the power of the pause, and then the alchemy of change. All that inner work that you do causes that change. And then the next pitch was the butterfly there. And this kind of illustrated the previous pages of building the strength up, understanding the stages of their life, what they needed to do to strengthen, to break free, to then pause, to then go forward. It was extraordinary, actually. And this journal is such a powerful book. And now this person is in an incredible place. But we just go again. We uncover more, and we go again. We become a stronger human. It never stops.
That's beautiful. I really believe in butterflies. I believe in this process. I've always seen myself in that process. It resonates a lot to me, what you just said just now. I really like that. But I need to ask you, because you're surrounded with so many people, okay? I don't know if you believe in energy. So you have to give a lot of energy. And sometimes you can reach what we call burnout. Have you ever felt burnout?
Yeah.
How did you get out of it?
Before, not very well.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of crashed through.
Yeah.
How did that affect me? Not very well. My health was impacted. I've by doing what I did, giving up the corporate world to do what I do now. Mm-hmm. And now, as I've reflected on my time in the corporate world and working with people, I can spot it a mile off.
Okay.
Like a horse can hear a heartbeat. I work with horses. A horse can hear a heartbeat from 4 yards away. I can spot this. And 7 years ago, I was training to run a marathon.
Okay.
And that was born from when I worked in Russia. I thought, if I can work in Russia, I can do anything.
Yeah.
So every year I do something that I think thought I could or would never do.
Okay.
All right. So I thought, running a marathon, that looks pretty tough, doesn't it? Let's go and do that. I was fit as anything. And that's after I'd lost 25 kilos.
Wow.
So, so I was trained, but I felt something wasn't right.
Mm-hmm.
And the male thing is to ignore it, isn't it? Whatever, it's a niggle. And a few weeks previously, I met a doctor, a homeopathic doctor, Dr. Sean Penny. Again, serendipitous, really. So I went to see him and I said, Sean, not sure what it is. Something's not quite right. We need to work it. What is it? Well, it's just in my chest. I said, okay. And we did a very simple DNA check. And he said, I'm telling you now, whatever comes up, I'm going to tell you. So brace yourself, brother. So I went back the next day and he said, okay. He said, you're going to die of heart disease before old age if you do not change.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Wow. He said, you are a statistic waiting to happen.
Okay.
He said, we read about people like you. You just go. And you're one of them. Oh, wow. And this was a time I was eating for a living, literally. I had all these restaurant brands. I was developing restaurants. I was eating. I was going out, being asked to go and blah, and all the rest of it. And that was a big wake-up call. So I changed a lot of what I did habitually, the way I lived, the way I ate, and I do believe that everything in moderation is absolutely fine. You just got to make sure you check in with yourself.
I agree.
And that was really difficult. So when I see people now, particularly men in their 40s, overweight, stressed, family, high-powered job, one of the first things I do is go and see Dr. Sean. Let's check you out. And 4 clients last year came back with a cardiac age 10, 12 years older than the real age.
Oh, wow.
And there's too much of it going on around here. There's way too much. We might look healthy. But again, what I've developed in what I do is asking the right questions. Because very often someone coming to me sometimes they don't need to go and see me. Yeah, I'm not the right person. Sometimes it's a mindset coach.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they need realigning, deep set realignment.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a doctor. And then come and see me. Or sometimes we work in parallel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't got the answers to everything. This is who you're working with.
I like that. Sometimes that I can imagine people come to you. Do you have the answers for all of this? Please help me out. As any human being, whenever we feel stuck or we want to change, we go to that one person and like, please, I need to find the answer.
Yeah.
What's the answer? But I must say, talking about fitness, I remember one day I saw you at the gym and I told you this because hats off to you. I see you nearly every day at the gym, training or doing something. And I really admire this because people underestimate the importance of keeping a physical activity. It can be anything. I'm not saying you have to hit weights. If you like it, you do it. If you want to go run, if you want to go swim, whatever kind of physical activities, because I believe that it is complementary to our mental health. Definitely.
One of my old bosses said to me once, he said, fit in body, fit in mind.
Exactly.
And I like to look good.
Mm-hmm.
I like to wear nice clothes. I'm a naturally overweight person. There's nothing there's lots of things worse, but me with a beer belly and a t-shirt isn't an attractive sight. I'm quite enjoying life at the moment. I don't want to have a heart attack.
I know. Completely.
I like the sense of accomplishment when I ran those marathons was enormous.
I know.
Oh my God. It was amazing. Learning to play polo, learning to ride a horse in the desert, doing all the things that I do is cool.
I agree. It's pretty cool. Not just cool, it's pretty cool.
I like working out with my kids. We all go to the gym together, most weekends when they're in town, But it is a time where I switch off. Yeah, I'll get on the bike, I'll get on the rower, I'll get in my groove, and I'll listen to a podcast.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'll listen to other stuff. That is my switch off. So when you see me in the gym, I'm invariably not talking to anybody.
Yeah.
I'm locked in.
And that's
Mm.
nice because it's like your me time, my little
Yeah, it
bubble
is a little
time.
bit. Yeah,
It's a time to kind of be with yourself
yeah.
and your thoughts, which is really nice. I really adore that. But now we've been talking and I've been hearing, I'm writing a book. I'm writing a book. All right, let's dig into this. Tell me a little bit more. Why the book and how is it going? Spill a little bit of tea if
Yeah.
that's okay.
So the book Beyond Boundaries Beyond is my perspective on how to form your authentic, purpose-driven goals,
Okay.
and just unpack that. you know,
Oh my God. When are you releasing it?
I was hoping to have finished it by September.
Okay.
I'm hitting a bit of kind of writer's block at the moment. A lot of it's written.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm working with someone, I'm working on, for example, their saboteurs, what's holding you back, the inner voices.
Yes. 100%.
So I've done a lot of work behind that. And a lot of it, it's not a story about me. It's not about me. But in order for me to have got there, I need to have done the work, which is what I've done. I've done the work on me, in the last 4 years. This deep thinking is, I suppose, a relatively late arrival for me. I've talked about finding my purpose. Wow, as soon as you find that, and I say, when you find your purpose, you have clarity. With clarity, you have strength. With strength, you have the courage to do anything. And sometimes it's about finding a voice.
Okay.
And believe it or not, I don't do a lot of this. And a lot of people say, you've got a lot of stories. You've got
Exactly.
and I hope people will enjoy listening to what I'm saying today. And a lot of people ask for it.
Mm-hmm.
So finding my voice, finding again, believe it or not, the confidence to go and stand on the stage and talk like this. I don't do it very often.
Oh, really? But you do.
Yeah.
I mean.
I do it, yes.
Yeah.
And I will do it more. This is the purpose behind the book.
Okay.
So the book will enable me to not do this one-to-one and charge you a lot of money an hour. But why can't I charge the same money to 1,000 people at one go?
Yeah.
So the book gives me that level of credibility. It's the book that my father never wrote.
Okay.
But it's my book. Again, his rules, my rules.
Yeah.
It's how do I interpret the gift that I have from him, the DNA that I have from him. And I can write. I enjoy writing. People say when I publish something, ChatGPT. So, well, seriously?
Yeah. It's not all AI.
No, it's not. Yeah, and the work is my work. That's been the influence of people that I've worked for, worked with, and the philosophers that we have around us. And so I've created my own models, my essence model, which is the what I believe to be the 4 domains of life: work, home, self, community.
Okay.
Within that, all the overlaps that come in. If anybody wants it, they just need to. I don't know how people can get hold of me through this, but
I'll put what I'll do
something
is in the description. I'll put your Instagram handle and
great, and they can just write to me.
Exactly.
And I'll share it with them.
That's the one you sent me, right?
Yes.
Oh, that was nice.
And for example, when you overlay self and the home, it's, for example, privacy.
Yes.
That's really important. Now, this could be privacy away from the madding crowd. It could be time spent on my own. It could be time spent in Sri Lanka. It could be, it's however we label anything that we want. Community is really important. We've all got something to give.
Yes.
And how do we do that? Our social position in community. How do we want to be positioned? And it just goes on and on and on. And within those, we find our authenticity and our purpose and our alchemy, which forms our essence. So if anybody wants it, they can have it. But that's a whole, again, when I created that was born from working with people who are nearing burnout because they don't have balance.
Yeah.
And one has to have levels of balance within. And it is quite an holistic model. Am I an holistical spiritual person? I would say no, but we've all got spirit in and around us.
I agree.
And I think we were touching on people around us. I have to be surrounded by positive energy.
Yes.
I now know what the impact of negative energy was and had on me, and I'm never going there again. I'd rather be on my own than be surrounded by some of the people that I was surrounded by. I don't need it, don't want it. It's not good for me. So you stay over there. And I also believe that once you create this vibe, this halo, you attract.
Yeah.
You attract more, and you do become your own movement. So the book, it does have my why. And I do talk about my childhood, because a lot of it comes from childhood. A lot of our emotional periods that affect us today were born then, or if not before birth. I'm not an expert by any means on that. There are other much more clever people than me, but and I've done a lot of work, gone into my subconscious a great deal, which has revealed an awful lot. So I enjoy writing.
I'm excited to read the book.
I'm
really, really excited to get a copy of that book.
Yeah, but what it did in the whole study process, working with other people, working with other coaches, as I discovered more about me, blimey, need to do a bit of work on that. Did a bit of work on that. Discovered more, made me a stronger person, found my voice, So that, again, there was a point in time in my career where we were absolutely discouraged from networking or going to talk to people, sharing our opinion.
Yeah.
This is my story. These are my words. These are my opinions. Now, if you like it, ask me for more. Come back and come and watch more. But there are more people who want it that don't want it. And again, I don't say that in any egotistical way. This is who I am.
I agree.
This is my journey. This is my quest. And, again, just those two words, journey, quest, people talk about their coaching journey, their transformational journey. A journey is something that we often go on. We go on a walk on the beach or something like that, or a walk through the forest. Actually, this is a quest for transformation. It's a deliberate action to get to another place where I want to be. If I'm able to define that, we're there again. If I'm able to define that. And so as part of this, I've written down what my 180, my 360-day intentions are in the present tense. Now, in order for me to talk with confidence on this and to talk with confidence on this platform, I've had to have really done the work. And you have to do the work. You've got to do the work.
And I think the work is the hardest part, isn't it?
It is often the hardest work, because I'm going to peel back the layers with you. Yeah. I'm going to ask the questions that you might not want to answer or might not want to hear. And again, these are questions that I'm going to ask you. You're afraid of sometimes. And sometimes you need that little push.
Exactly.
And step 2 of my 8 steps is surround yourself with a trusted eco. Who and what are you going to have around you as you go on this transformational quest? It's invariably a coach. Sometimes it's a mentor. You're going to have a soundboard. You're going to have your girlfriends. You're going to have your journal, your things. You're going to have all of these things, because sometimes it's not easy.
Yeah.
we might uncover something that might not be easy. But in order to get there, we've got to go there.
Yep, I agree.
And it's not always easy. But when we're there, it's beautiful. And, it's that Pareto principle, forming, storming, norming, and then performing.
Exactly.
And then we go again. So it's these old principles that we studied at university and school. All I've done is taken them and just interpreted my own story, my own principles. These are my principles that I've applied to age-old professors and put it into simple.
I really like it because, and this is the reason why when we started, I asked you about your childhood, about like the early years, because I truly believe is however your childhood was, and even if it's unknowing, because I still believe like, when you're a child, sometimes you don't understand everything, but it will still impact you. And it's only when you grow and you actually sit with yourself and ask yourself, okay, this is not right, or this doesn't seem right, but why am I feeling like that? And when you go deeper and deeper. And one thing that I really realized is when you go deep, you get uncomfortable and you don't like that feeling because obviously it's just you're not in your little comfort zone, but that uncomfortableness will make you then take the next step. And then you're like, okay, one step done. Let's get it. And it's a little bit like with the ice bath. That's how I perceived it myself. You get in, it's very uncomfortable. You're like, oh my God, I don't like that. Like, why am I even doing this? And then suddenly you get comfortable. You're like, it's not that bad. And you drop a little bit more in the water, shoulders in. You're like, ooh, that hurts.
It's only cold.
It's not. But I really like that. And honestly, I am looking forward to read your book. I will be
no pressure now.
Just like I was for Stephen Bartlett. I'm like, David,
yeah,
can I get you?
exactly.
Just like that.
Yes.
Oh, I can't wait. That's beautiful. But you also mentioned you work with horses. Explain to, I kind of know because obviously we've discussed about it, but to the people listening and that would like to go on this journey with you, explain to us, how do you work? How is horses related with what you do?
Yeah. One of the first things that I did when I came here, I told you that I wanted to challenge myself and do things that I thought I could never do. I thought, you know what? I quite fancy learning to ride one of these Arabian racehorses in the desert.
Mm-hmm.
This would be sexy. And so I found a trainer, and I told him what I wanted to do, and he said, "No problem." I'd never ridden before, never gotten a horse, and these horses are bred to canter for 100 kilometers.
Okay.
There are no fences in the desert, so the idea you've got to have confidence and show the horse that you're in charge. You've got to trust the horse. The horse has got to trust you.
Okay.
So all these metaphors, when we compare all of that with that in the boardroom, right? So I learned to ride, and it's the most beautiful thing to, escape the gray of downtown, and you go into the desert, which in some places is actually quite lush. You go there at sunrise and watch the sun come up. It's amazing. The wildlife there, the peace that's there. When you go riding at moonlight, at full moon, for example, it's powerful.
I did that once. It was beautiful.
It's so powerful. And so I learned to have confidence that actually, if the horse knows that I'm comfortable, because our energy goes straight through us into the horse.
Okay.
So you're getting on the horse, and if you have in any way doubt or nerves, the horse is going to pick it up, and the horse will react.
Interesting. Okay.
So I was working with a client who, Maria, and Maria won't mind me sharing this story, will you, Maria? But I was working with her professionally
Okay.
in her world of marketing. She wanted to grow her career there. But on the side, she was developing a healing business.
Okay.
That was her future vision, that one day that's where she was going to be working. So we worked professionally. She achieved amazing things in her career. And then I asked her, let's spend some time together with your healing work.
Mhm.
And that was working with horses, with horse therapy. And it was transformational for me. As I said earlier, the horse can hear your heartbeat from meters away. Horses mirror behavior. So we're not riding horses. I have taken clients into the desert
Okay.
riding,
Okay.
and that's to work on trust and confidence in different ways.
Okay.
I'm not a horse coach.
Yeah.
However, I know the desert now. I know the guides to take with me, and I know what I'm doing.
Okay.
But when it comes to working in the paddock and the sessions that we've developed together, so we now collaborate and we work together. We go from sunrise to sunset.
Okay.
And we follow the sun. And morning is we've done some pre-work, so we'll give you a very fly-through overview of the work we do together. If we're working with a group of executives who don't work together, we'll be talking about, who am I?
Okay.
So that's a power question. So
Very, very deep.
So that question will drop 24 hours before. If we're working as a team, what kind of a leader am I?
Okay.
What kind of a team player am I? And this is the first bit of group work that we will do. We'll do some grounding work in the paddock with the sun coming up, where we'll stop and we'll pause. Remember what I said about the power of the pause and the alchemy of change. And when we stop and we listen to the sounds of the birds, the wind in the palm trees, the noises around us, when we listen to those words and we're not listening to nothing. And then what do we see? And then what kind of it? We go through that. And then when we start working with a horse, I ask you to lead a horse.
Okay.
And then the rest of the group will you might say, well, I'm confident, I can lead that horse and blah, blah, blah. But the reality is we're now in the horse's domain.
Okay.
Horse will do what the hell he likes. And if you haven't built a relationship, if you don't have confidence, if you don't have trust, if you haven't engaged with that half-ton beast, horse is going to do absolutely nothing. So again, we use them as metaphors to play with. And it's the power of observation. So we're now working, what do we see? And as whoever it is leading the horse, working with the horse, how do we feel? How do we feel about this? We having to tug the horse, or have you built the relationship up that you can take the horse with you? And again, use that analogy back in the workplace. How do we want our team to be? Have we built trust, confidence? Do we believe in them? Do we have a rapport, etc.? So we'll do that practically in the paddock, and then we'll do the transformational work in the classroom with whatever that is, creating future vision, working on that vision and mission, or whatever it is we want to do organizationally.
Okay.
Do we want to build a powerful team? And I believe that the work that we do together now is, I don't know that that's being done anywhere in the way we're doing. The horse therapy work there's only a few coaches doing that here.
To be honest, I never heard about it until I met you, and I remember, I think, was it George? She mentioned that in the group because she did it with you.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, interesting. And I still have to do it. I'm not going to lie.
Well, yeah, no, you must. You would enjoy it, but when you want to. I'm never going to say to someone, when are you coming on my session? When am I going to start coaching you? I never do that.
Yeah.
You know me, people know me, people will refer me, and that's how it works. But it's interesting. One of the coaches I worked with a few weeks ago, so Maria was traveling, and she said, I've got someone who's going to replace me. She's going to be working with you. And she was somebody that when I met her, I said, I know you. She said, yeah, I met you a year ago at an event and you shared your work, what you were doing, and I'd then gone away and trained to deliver this coaching work.
Wow.
Yeah, it was so powerful. And we worked together. There's 3 of us worked together that day. And it was probably one of the most powerful sessions I have ever done that day.
That's amazing.
It was amazing.
That's amazing.
And so the more we do, the deeper we get, the more powerful it is.
Mm-hmm.
So that work will grow.
I am sure.
It really will grow.
And I truly believe like when you believe in what you do and you do it wholeheartedly, the obstacle are just obstacle. There's nothing that can stop you from jumping over it, And one thing I truly believe is whatever you do, I may be wrong, but I always think that everything should be aligned. Whether I myself sometimes are in a situation where the logic mind is saying yes, but my heart, my gut, what I stand for is saying no. So there's that constant battle of like, okay, what do I do? But I know for a fact that if all of this aligns all together, gut saying yes, heart saying yes, goes with my values, logic's like, all right, go for it. The outcome of it always turn out to be beautiful. And that's another beautiful thing that I love. David, I'd love to chat more with you, but unfortunately,
is that 4 hours up?
we're running out of time. But
yes,
before we close the episode,
yes,
first of all, I'd like to thank you because honestly,
I've enjoyed it. Thank you.
I got to know more about you, and it's so beautiful and it's so refreshing, and it honestly gives me a lot of hope. That's something mainly today I needed to hear what you told us today on the episode. But before I close the episode, I have a little tradition.
Oh.
So it's not a bad one. I call it the rapid fire question.
Okay, go.
Okay. There are some questions that are a bit deep, so even though they are rapid fire questions, you may take a little bit of time. I'm not that mean. I can be like kind as a host. All right, ready?
Ready.
Okay, let's start. What would you attempt if you knew you couldn't fail right now?
What would I attempt
if you knew you couldn't fail?
Oh. I would taste.
Oh, really?
Well, when you say feel,
no, fail.
Oh, fail. I'm sorry. What would I attempt if I knew
you couldn't fail?
Wow. I would. One of the big things is jumping out of an aeroplane.
Oh, interesting. You've never done?
No.
All right. Should we add that to your bucket list?
It's on there, but I keep dropping it down. For some reason, and I don't know what it is climbing a mountain.
Oh, really?
A big mountain.
Interesting. Okay. That's a nice one.
Yeah, that keeps coming to me.
Maybe it's calling for you.
Yeah.
Sometimes if it comes back, it's like...
I know. So let's have climbing a mountain.
All right. Okay. I like that. What is the one thing that people don't know about you?
God, I haven't got much to hide.
Are you sure? Maybe.
A lot of people don't know how old I am.
I don't know how old you are.
No.
And I wouldn't guess, to be honest.
What's the one thing people don't know about me? Well, I never went to university. One of the stories I had, I left school at 16 years of age and went straight to work. And that is another little story. Should we save that for next time?
Yeah, I truly believe there will be a part 2 because I really want to dig deeper with you and go in the depth of the conversation.
So I think a lot of people think I'm this clever guy, but actually, I'm from a family of academics, but I was the one kid that left school at 16 and went straight to work.
Interesting. Wow. Okay, I like that. Okay. Let's okay, 3 words to describe your journey.
It's been tough,
Mhm.
fulfilling,
Okay.
disruptive.
Okay. Okay. I like that. I'll take that. Um what is one moment that impacted you the most in your career?
I'm gonna say the transition of moving away from England was impacted me most in so many ways. Moving overseas, I moved from a very stable environment to Russia. Oh my God! So that was extremely impactful. Then
Okay.
moving to the Middle East, which then saw me progress in a
Okay.
big way. Again, because I'd found my purpose. I'd been given the job that I always really wanted and should have had a long time before.
Okay. I hear you. All right. Um okay, what inspires you in life right now?
My work,
Your work?
yeah, my work really inspires me. Every conversation I have, every coaching session I do, every mentor session I do, it's taught me to be very reflective.
Yeah.
If I'm working with a client, what can I take from that?
Okay. I like that. Um all right. I will keep that one for the last one, but we'll go for a little bit more of a fun
Oh,
rapid
okay,
fire.
good. I can be fun.
Okay. Early bird or night owl?
Both.
Ah, you gotta choose.
Well, give it this. I was up at 5 o'clock this morning. I get up 5:30
Okay.
in the morning.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm an early bird.
Okay.
But I've always been a night owl because of the work that I've been doing.
Would you say you're more productive in the evening or in the morning?
Yeah, I'm more productive in the evening.
Okay. All right.
And it's a different kind of productivity.
True.
Now I've learned to write in the morning. I've learned to go to the gym at 5:30 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's all kind of not what it used to be.
I agree. That's true. I agree.
So
That's true.
most of my life, it's been really hard to get up in the morning.
Oh, really?
Yeah, God. So I was always a late guy.
Oh, for me, not my mom. Jesus, mom, if you hear me, thanks to you, I wake up. She was like the military. Ooh, if
Really?
school would start at 8,
Yeah.
but I would be the first kid at school. Like the gate's not even open. I kid you not.
Really?
I was awake 5, get ready, out of the house, get like breakfast and all of that. I'll reach probably 7:15. Bear in mind, we start at 8.
Wow. Wow.
Thanks to you, mom. I'm grateful for that, though. I'm not gonna lie. All right, cup of tea or cup of coffee?
If I'm in England, a good cup of tea is great.
Yeah.
I have become a coffee snob because I've worked with such cool coffee brands.
Okay.
And so I've come to learn to appreciate coffee in a big way.
All right. Your biggest guilty pleasure?
Sweets. Yeah, it has to be sugar.
Which one exactly? Let's go a little bit. If you had to choose one sweet, or is it sweet or chocolate? More
Well,
sweet?
I love chocolate.
Okay.
I love chocolate. So if you imagine a gorgeous salted caramel, it is the devil's work.
I know it is. I'm a chocolate girl. If like between both, I'm a chocolate. Like I've always been a chocolate girl more than a candy, but salted caramel. All right, summer, winter.
I'm a summer boy.
Okay.
Yeah, I love summer.
Okay. A pint or a glass of gin?
Gin.
Okay. Your morning song?
Oh. Do you know when I get up in the morning, I want silence.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't want anything on. I don't want the radio. I don't want music. I don't want television. I want silence.
Okay.
I went for a run this morning and had nothing in my ears.
Really?
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to run without music.
Normally that's the case, but this morning I didn't want anything, not even a podcast, nothing. And sometimes, when you're out in the elements, it's nice to hear the birds.
Exactly.
It's gorgeous. So I don't have a morning song.
Okay.
That's a bit boring, isn't it?
I mean, to be fair, I am similar to you in that sense, because the moment I would potentially plug music in is when I reach the gym. And I just want that. I have my specific playlist when I'm lifting. But when I wake up, I don't want any noise. I just want to be with me, myself, and I want to have my hot water and lemon and just sit down and kind of embrace the day. And I live on a high floor, so I like to always hop out and look outside and just sing that in,
Nice.
So I like that. All right, let's finish with one of my favorite questions. If you had to give one advice to your younger self, which one would it be?
Believe in yourself and you will win.
David, thank you so much. Thank you. And where can people find you?
They can find me on Instagram, oraculi.co. LinkedIn, I'm all over that.
Okay.
So either of those, they can find me.
I'll put that in the description.
Cool.
Thank you so
We'll
much.
do a LinkedIn story.
Oh yeah, for sure. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for sharing your beautiful journey. It was a pleasure to have you.
I loved it. Thank you for inviting me here. It's been cool.
Thank you for making time. I know you have a busy schedule, so you coming here today is a biggest honor and pleasure to have you here.
Thank you. You're very sweet.
I might sneak in this part 2 sometime soon. I might ask you one day, hey, you want to do a part 2?
We can.
Yes.
Let's do it.
Well, thank you so much.
It's a pleasure.
And on that note, guys, I'm going to love you and leave you, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.